Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I'm so incredibly thrilled to be your guide today. As a woman who just geeks out over the intricate mechanics of language, I know firsthand exactly how frustrating English can be. If you've ever found yourself staring at a sentence, completely agonizing over whether to use do or make, trust me, you're definitely not alone. In a lot of languages, these ideas are bundled up into just one single word. But English? Well, English likes to make things complicated by splitting them up. Today, we're going to completely demystify these verbs. All right, let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at do versus make. Then, fixed expressions to memorize. Third, do, does, and did. Fourth, the power of helping verbs. And finally, common mistakes to avoid. Section 1. Do versus make. Action versus creation. So, if your native language uses just one singular verb to express both acting and creating, think like hacer in Spanish or faire in French, your brain naturally wants to do the exact same thing in English. But English is quirky. It actually splits these concepts into two totally distinct verbs based entirely on their function. It's really a completely different way of thinking. Okay, let's start with do. The absolute most crucial point here is that do is all about that invisible effort. It's the pure action. We use it for general activities, responsibilities, or work. Think of things like doing the dishes, doing the ironing, or doing a job. You're performing an action, sure, but you aren't necessarily producing some brand new physical item that's just going to remain sitting on the table when you're done. Now, contrast that with make. Make is all about creation. You use it when you're actually building, producing, or physically putting something together. When you use make, you usually end up with a tangible object, like something you can actually touch or point to, or a very specific result. You make a cake, you make furniture, you make a dress. You are bringing something totally new into existence. Let's look at these side by side. I mean, we've all heard someone say, I need to make my homework, right? Well, actually, scratch that. Let's cross that right out. Homework is a task. It's an obligation. You aren't creating a physical object from scratch, you're just completing a duty. Because of that, you do homework. If you're performing a task, you always use do. Moving on to section 2. Fixed expressions to memorize. All right, so sometimes English just makes you memorize things. Look at these super common expressions with do. You do your best at work, charities do good, smoking can do harm, you ask a friend to do a favor, and companies do business. These are basically set combinations. They describe actions and impacts, yes, but they're fixed phrases that you kind of just have to practice until they roll right off your tongue. Now let's flip over to make. Remember how I said make is for creating? Well, that doesn't just mean physical things like cakes or dresses. It also applies to producing results. You make plans for a vacation. You make a decision. You make a mistake. You make money. And you make an effort. In all of these cases, you're producing a very specific outcome. Section 3. Do, does, and did. Subject and time changes. So, when we're speaking in the present simple tense, subjects like I, you, we, and they take do. But the second you switch to the third person singular, that's he, she, or it, the verb morphs into does. But hey, here's the really great news. When we talk about the past tense, English actually gives us a bit of a break. For the past simple, we just use did for every single subject, across the board, no exceptions. Let's see how that looks in practice. In the present, say it's a routine. She does the laundry. We use does because our subject is she. Simple enough, right? But when we shift that exact same sentence backward into the past, it simply becomes, she did the laundry. It's a super quick, easy, and totally uniform transition. Section 4. The power of helping verbs. Okay, this is absolutely crucial. When we want to ask a question in English, we need a helper. Here's your magic 3-step formula for doing this. Step 1. You start with your helping verb, do, does, or did. Step 2. You add your subject. And step 3, add your main verb, but, and this is key, keep it strictly in its base form. Let's do a quick little play-along challenge right here. I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is yes, I do. Now think about the formula we literally just looked at. What would a question be that prompts this exact answer? Take just a second to think about it. Did you guess something like, do you like chocolate? If you did, awesome job. You used the helping verb do, the subject you, and the base verb like. You've basically just mastered the mechanics of question formation. Now, helping verbs also step in to save the day when we want to make negative statements. They fuse seamlessly with the word not. In the present, do not becomes don't, and does not becomes doesn't. So you get sentences like, I don't like spicy food, or she doesn't watch TV. And in the past, it's universally didn't, as in, they didn't finish the project. Let me let you in on a little cultural secret about conversational English here. Sometimes we use these helping verbs just for emphasis, or even to politely disagree. If someone assumes you hate spicy food, you don't just say, I like it, you add a little extra punch to it. You say, oh, I do like spicy food. I just prefer it mild. It adds this wonderful layer of politeness and emphasis to your speech. Section 5. Common mistakes to avoid. All right, let's look at this first massive trap. He don't like pizza. You know, you'll actually hear this sometimes in really casual slang or regional dialects, but grammatically speaking, it's completely incorrect. Remember our golden rule from earlier? He, she, and it always demand does. Therefore, the correct negative form is absolutely he doesn't like pizza. Here's another incredibly common one. Did she went to school? The speaker here obviously knows they're talking about the past, so they put go into the past tense, went. Makes sense, right? But wait, remember our three-step question formula? The helper verb did already takes care of the past tense. After did, the main verb must magically return to its base form. So it is strictly, did she go to school? And finally, let's just reinforce that present simple rule one last time. She do yoga every morning is a definite miss. She is a third-person singular subject. It absolutely demands that special S sound. So the correct sentence, standing loud and clear, is she does yoga every morning. Let's bring it all home. Here are your rapid-fire takeaways for today. Do is for your actions, your work, and your everyday tasks. Make is strictly reserved for producing, creating, and getting specific results. When dealing with present tense subjects like he, she, or it, do becomes does. And when we time travel to the past, both do and does transform into did for absolutely everyone. I want to leave you all with a little question to ponder. What effort will you make to do your best with these verbs today? Notice what I did there. We produced a result, the effort, and performed a task, doing our best. I challenge you to take these rules, practice those fixed expressions, and bring this newfound knowledge into your everyday conversations. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely can't wait to guide you through our next topic.